Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into something monumental. We are unpacking an incredibly serious topic drawn straight from the writings of A.W. Tozer. We're looking at what he called a completely devastating diagnosis of the modern church. Tozer was a guy who absolutely despised that mechanical, just going through the motions kind of religion. Instead, he argued that truly approaching the divine, that requires a profound, absolute surrender. So let's just jump right in and look at the exact cost he says is required to truly know God.
Tozer's whole argument really kicks off with this heavy premise. He believed that modern believers have enthusiastically embraced this cheap, comfortable religion, a religion that costs them absolutely nothing. We want the glory without the grave, right? And the result? Well, according to Tozer, the modern church is dying of spiritual hypothermia. That's a strong phrase. People are literally freezing to death spiritually, all because the fire of genuine devotion has been swapped out for comfortable apathy.
Section 1. The modern spiritual sickness. Let's take a look at the modern church. So Tozer argues that we've kind of mistaken elaborate machinery and stained glass for true spiritual health. And notice this fundamental distinction he makes here to prove his point. He says, there is a terrifying difference between merely knowing about God and truly knowing God. Knowing about God, that's just intellectual. It's possessing facts, memorizing attributes, becoming fluent in theological vocabulary, but he contrasts that with a terrifying experiential encounter of the consuming fire. It's literally the difference between comfortably sitting back in a pew and covering your face, trembling before the Almighty. Think about Tozer's own vivid metaphors for this. He says people are settling for the counterfeit. It's like having the map but never actually taking the journey. They hold the menu in their hands, but they never actually taste the bread of heaven. They cherish a photograph of the person they love, but they've never embraced the actual person. They're totally substituting the symbol for the reality.
And because of this illusion of knowledge, Tozer points out that multitudes are theologically literate but completely spiritually illiterate. They can sit there and debate doctrine with hearts as cold as marble. Ultimately, they're left holding nothing but the dry husk of religious correctness. They're clutching this empty shell and mistakenly calling it the harvest. They've got the form of godliness, for sure, but they absolutely deny its power.
Section 2. The danger of cheap grace. This is all about that sentimental substitute.
Tozer argues that the modern message has been heavily edited to offer what he famously calls cheap grace. Look at how he defines this. It's grace without discipleship, grace without the cross. It's treated as a commodity, dispensed like a religious vending machine, just in exchange for a tepid prayer and a fleeting moment of sentimentality. Tozer actually calls this cheap grace a soft pillow. It's essentially put the modern church to sleep because it treats the ultimate sacrifice as nothing more than a free admission coupon for heaven.
But in stark contrast to that, true grace, costly grace, demands everything. As the source material outlines, this kind of grace pursues you into every single corner of your life. It demands the keys to every room in your house, especially those locked rooms where secret sins are hidden. It acts as a surgeon's scalpel, cutting right down to the bone to remove malignancies. So the absolute crucial point here is that this fire purifies, yes, but it also burns, and it will not be satisfied until every single idol is thrown down.
Tozer makes it abundantly, almost painfully clear. The cross was never meant to be a fashion statement. It's not a religious hobby, and it is definitely not a self-improvement seminar. It is an instrument of execution. When you're called to follow, you are not being invited to thrive in your own ambitions. You're being summoned to your own funeral.
Section 3. The Kingdom's Great Inversion. It's a divine paradox.
Now, this divine paradox completely confounds worldly wisdom. Let's look at how these two totally opposing frameworks operate. The world's calculus tells you to exalt yourself, right? To grasp for what you want, to save your life at all costs. But the kingdom's calculus? It demands the exact opposite. Humble yourself. Release what you're holding on to. Lose your life. The real tragedy, Tozer points out, is that we have memorized the kingdom's vocabulary, but we're still operating entirely by the world's calculus.
To actually live by the kingdom's calculus requires something our modern culture absolutely hates: mortification. It's an old, heavy theological word that literally means death. It is the slow, agonizing process of daily dying. It's a moment-by-moment refusal to grant the flesh its demands. And as Tozer observes, the flesh will never, ever crucify itself. It has to be forcefully dragged to the cross and nailed there by the hammer of obedience.
So, what exactly has to die? Well, consider this list: your personal ambitions, your heavily guarded reputations, your comforts, your personal preferences, and perhaps most importantly, that proud, stubborn self that constantly demands to be served. God isn't going to answer your heart as a tenant where you still hold the deed. He demands to be the owner. He demands the completely undivided throne of the heart.
Section 4. Entering the secret place. A determined withdrawal.
Okay, so how do we practically cure this spiritual hypothermia? Well, standing in the way is what Tozer diagnoses as the tabernacle of distraction. Basically, our modern pocket devices. It is a portable idol of light and noise that constantly interrupts divine silence. We've grown completely deaf to the gentle whisper of the Spirit. Why? Because we reach for constant stimulation the exact same way a drowning man frantically reaches for a rope.
To reclaim that holy ground, Tozer outlines 3 specific steps. First, you've got to withdraw from the clamor and noise of the outer courts. Second, you have to literally put away the portable idol of distraction. Just leave it in another room. Third, you must linger and wait patiently. You have to let the noise of the world drain out of your soul, like water draining from a cracked vessel, until you can finally keep step with the unhurried pace of eternity.
If we refuse to do this, we are left with the great tragedy Tozer highlights. When we feel like God is distant, the reality is He hasn't moved. He stands at the door and knocks, but the door is locked from the inside. The lock is our own unsurrendered will, and the key is right there in our own hands. We've essentially locked ourselves away in our own noise.
Section 5. The ultimate cost and reward. The eternal payoff.
As we bring this explainer to its climax, we really have to weigh the agonizing cost of this journey against its monumental eternal payoff. Because Tozer doesn't just offer a wound, he offers a profound balm. There's incredible promise here for anyone desperate enough to seek it. God draws near to whoever draws near. He fills those who hunger. He waits with infinite patience for the prodigal to return. He readily accepts the empty, ruined, and humble sinner who comes with nothing but their own need. If you bring your ruined need to Him, He will meet you exactly there.
So it all really comes down to the ultimate choice. You have to contrast the passing pleasures, the careers build, the wood, hay, and stubble of worldly success with the eternal weight of glory. The hours spent in the secret place, the ambitions crucified, those are going to be the jewels in your crown. The worldly things will be consumed in a moment, but the friendship of the Almighty awaits those who are truly wholehearted.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative challenge drawn directly from Tozer's plea. Look at your own life right now and ask yourself, are you just holding the dry husk of religious correctness, or are you truly willing to pay the agonizing, beautiful cost of knowing God? Let that question linger for a bit. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.